Good morning, everybody. This is Billy Trout with the Tennessee Department of Revenue's Taxpayer Education section. And on behalf of our Commissioner, David Geragano, and our Director, Elena Turner, we appreciate your attendance at today's presentation for Liquor by the Drink. We want to call to your attention the information that is on the slide here regarding connectivity and things of that nature. You should be able to hear me speaking now. And of course, we refer to you uh, the connection information on the slide. Excuse me this morning. I want to go ahead and let you know that we're very, very glad to have you. We'll be going through a lot of information today. So I have Miss Katie Julian in our taxpayer education section with us today. Stephanie Bailey, who's on our training team, and our subject matter expert today in the miscellaneous tax unit is Kellen Wheeler. And we are most glad to have him, and our assistant director, Dan Vinson, will be monitoring chat today and attempting to answer as many questions as we possibly can during the webinar today. And of course, we have quite a few of you rather signed up for the webinar. It'll be a little bit difficult to address every question, but we'll hit the high points. But at the very end, we're going to tell you how you can get other questions answered so that you make sure you have everything locked down and tight for Liquor by the Drink. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn that over to Katie. Katie, if you don't mind, go ahead and walk them through a few things here, and appreciate it very much. Thank you very much, Katie.
Great. Thank you, Billy. And thanks to Dan and Stephanie for being here on the panel to help with chat. And of course, our resident subject matter expert, Kellen Wheeler. Thanks, Kellen, for being here. After we go through this short presentation, we will have some time at during the second half of this webinar to address some of your questions. You can, as Billy said, put those into the chat. Make sure you send it to all panelists just to make sure we all see your question. And like Billy said, any questions that we don't get around to, or if you've got account-specific questions or pretty in-depth questions, the email address you see on the bottom of the slide we've got right now up, revenue.support@tn.gov. Just shoot us an email there and we'll get back to you that way. So without further ado, one more thing let me bring to your attention, and I'll give you a minute to navigate there if you need to. At the very beginning of our chat, I posted a link to a PDF of today's presentation. Of course, you can see on the screen now we post a recording of the actual webinar tomorrow on the Taxpayer Education Tax Webinars page on our website, so you can refer back to that. You can also check out our webinar video library of other past webinars that we've done. We do update the PDF that goes along with those webinars as there are law or procedural or policy changes to anything we've delivered via webinar in the past. Just recently, we made some changes based on some legislative changes this past session. So check us out there, and we really appreciate you being with us here today for our monthly free tax webinar on Liquor by the Drink tax basics. Today, we are going to go over several things here. We're going to talk about what is liquor by the drink, or we'll refer to that as LBD, who's liable for it, who's not. We'll talk about registration when it comes to bonds and keeping your price schedule updated, how to file, the importance of maintaining records. We're going to share some resources with you and discuss some important policy and important notices that we've put out recently. There's really no law changes from this recent session, but as many of you are probably aware, when COVID started, there were some law changes that affected liquor by the drink tax, also known as on-premise consumption alcohol tax. So we'll dive right in here to what is LBD, liquor by the drink tax. It is a tax on the retail sale of alcoholic beverages, wine, and high alcohol content beer for consumption. This is a tax similar to sales tax in that it's collected from the consumer and then remitted by the retailer to the Tennessee Department of Revenue, also known as a trust tax. This tax is due for sale and consumption on premises, generally speaking, typically, normally, But licensees may offer drive-through pickup, carry-out, and delivery orders for consumption off premises. And that was a law that passed when COVID first started. And that aspect, that carry-out, drive-through pickup aspect, is in effect until July 1, 2023. You can check out, actually, I'll put a link over in the chat to the public. Let's see here. Our important notice on that, the to-go orders of alcoholic beverages and beer went into effect in May of 2021. I'll copy that and stick it down in here into the chat for you real quick. That important notice, if you want any more details about that. The liquor by the drink tax is the rate is 15%, and there are a few exceptions to taxing liquor by the drink sales, and we'll go over those as well here in a little while. On this slide, you'll see this is just kind of an informational slide based on our tax revenue and allocations for liquor by the drink tax for the 2021 period. We should be gathering numbers and putting numbers out there for the most recent fiscal year. But for fiscal year 2021, you can see here that about 50% of liquor by the drink taxes were allocated to the state's education fund. Looks like a little bit over $54 million. The rest goes towards cities and counties, so it goes right back to your local county or municipality. And strangely here we got $6 going to event and tourism. I'm not sure what that's all about, but very minute amount there. But looks like a little bit over about 108 million in revenue for liquor by the drink tax for the 2021 fiscal year. And thanks to any of you on here joining us today that are in the hospitality industry, in the restaurant business, collect this tax and remit it. Your efforts are going towards a good thing here. All right, who is liable for liquor by the drink tax? All businesses that sell alcoholic beverages, wine, and high alcohol content beer at retail for consumption. Alcoholic beverages are defined as alcohol, spirits, or liquor containing at least 5% alcohol by volume. Wine is defined as fermented juice containing no more than 21% alcohol by volume, and high alcohol content beer is beer or ale containing more than 8% alcohol by weight. And it's important to note here that these items must be purchased from an authorized wholesaler. Some exemptions here to this liquor by the drink tax. Alcoholic beverage manufacturers, certain sales of alcoholic beverages for consumption on premises, or briefly right now during this period, some off premise, of alcoholic beverage manufacturers are specifically exempted from the liquor by the drink tax. The following sales are exempt. So we've got licensed distilleries and licensed winery, farm wine producers, and satellite facilities. For licensed distilleries, samples and sales of alcoholic beverages sold for consumption on the premise are exempt from liquor by the drink tax. And for licensed wineries, farm wine producers, and satellite facilities, the samples of wine for tasting for consumption on premises are not liable for liquor by the drink tax, and retail sales in sealed containers for consumption on the premises are also exempt from liquor by the drink tax. You'll see on the bottom of this slide here, sales of wine by the glass for consumption on the premises of the licensed winery are subject to liquor by the drink tax. There are a few other exemptions to liquor by the drink tax you'll see outlined here. The first one is art galleries that do not sell food or beverages and that receive 90% of their revenue from the sale of artwork may serve wine to patrons without charge and are not required to pay the liquor by the drink tax on this wine. Commercial airlines, paddle wheel steamboat companies, not sure if we have a lot of those present with us here in this webinar, and passenger trains do not pay the liquor by the drink tax on their sales of alcoholic beverages, but in lieu of LBD tax, they will pay a wholesale gallonage tax on alcoholic beverages, and you can find more information about that in our alcohol manual, which I will show you how to get to that here in a little while. Also exempt are charitable, nonprofit, or political organizations that hold a special occasion license and sell alcoholic beverages pursuant to that license do not owe the liquor by the drink tax on those sales. And that special occasion license is something you can obtain through the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission, TABC. Speaking of the TABC, how to register for liquor by the drink tax. The first step here is to obtain your liquor license from the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission, which is the ABC, and a price schedule is required when you obtain that license from the ABC. I've got a link here. It's an online process to get licensed to sell liquor by the drink. Let's pop this over into the chat for you real quick. This is a link to the online resources that the Tennessee Alcoholic Beverage Commission has. You can apply for a new license, you can renew your license, print your license and permit, all of that you can do through the ABC. And in our webinar today, we're not going to be talking about aspects of that liquor license that you receive from the ABC, but it's important to know that it is the first step. You have to get that license from the ABC before you register for liquor by the drink. And you can do that, register for the liquor by the drink tax on TNTAP, which is our online taxpayer portal for registering, paying your taxes. It's kind of like having an online bank account for your taxes, and we highly recommend that everybody that has a tax account has a TNTAP account. Part of registering for liquor by the drink tax, you have to post a $10,000 bond. It's only $2,000 for wine. And it's important to note here also that when you have a liquor by the drink tax, that goes hand in hand. You must also have a sales and use tax account as well and charge sales tax on the beverages. So sales tax plus liquor by the drink tax on these liquor by the drink sales. So this is there's a lot of information on this slide. I decided to put a screenshot of what the bond actually looks like. And if you want to zoom in, you can hit the little zoom plus sign on your screen there if you want to zoom in here. But I'm just going to kind of hit some high points. Actually, I've got to put on my own eyeballs for this. The bond must be signed by the applicant or principal and notarized. That's very important. We cannot accept it if it's not. And it can be submitted via TNTAP. The link at the bottom here shows you how to get to this bond. You go to our website, tn.gov/revenue, click on tax resources, then tax specific forms, and then liquor by the drink. Then an indemnity bond is required to ensure payment of all liquor by the drink taxes, and that is per Tennessee Code Annotated 57-4-302. It can be in the form of cash, cashier's checks, certified checks, certificate of deposit, or a corporate surety bond. So the things I'm highlighting here from the bond that you'll see on our website is you're stating that you have applied to the ABC. That's, again, first step. Also, you're saying that you will properly pay all taxes, penalty, and interest connected with the sale of alcoholic beverages. It's important that you put the effective date on the bond as well. If all the fields are not filled out, including that date that the bond goes into effect, and if it's not signed, if it's not notarized, it will get sent back to you or we'll reach out to you. So make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's with this bond requirement. You can adjust, you can submit the bond and also adjust your bond on TNTAP. Here's a screenshot of what it looks like once you're in your TNTAP account. Out beside the bond account, you'll see all your tax accounts listed after you've gained access to them on TNTAP, and that bond will kind of look like its own tax account. But you'll see here circled in red, that's where you submit the security bond form. There are periodic bond reviews annually. Our system will make sure that you have, and we'll send you correspondence to let you know that you have sufficient, insufficient, or possibly an excessive bond amount, and that is based on your sales. So after you have a history of some sales, you may need to increase your bond, maybe enough and sufficient, or it could be that you could decrease the amount of bond based on that. So if a license forfeits or cancels its bond, if you cancel or forfeit your bond for any reason, the ABC license is automatically revoked as well. Our system here at Department of Revenue and the ABC's system, we speak to each other and communicate with each other to make sure everything that both need are present. Another thing is price schedule. So when you first get your liquor license, you're going to submit a price schedule to the ABC. And then from that point on, so obviously before you enter business, from that point on, at least annually, you will change or update the price schedule as needed. So the information that's on your price schedule is the number of drinks sold for each type of drink or each category of drinks with the same price, pour size, and bottle ounce. Also, the ounce pour by drink / bottle ounces for each item sold, and the sales price for that item, including any special prices. This can be submitted, this price schedule can be submitted a few different ways. You can upload your point of sale system reports that includes all the above information you can upload that point of sale system report to TinTap. You can upload a completed standard price schedule form, and that form can be found at the link you see there. Go to tn.gov/revenue, click on tax resources, and then tax specific forms, liquor by the drink. And you can also fill this out electronically on your TinTap account. I'm going to show you here, I think it's the next slide. Nope, it's the one after this, but I wanted to call your attention here about how to file the price schedule using TinTap, how to get to it. This is an article grabbed directly from our revenue help section from our website. So if you go to tn.gov/revenue and click on revenue help, you can see a lot of different articles about liquor by the drink. This is the article that's specifically about how to file it. You'll log into TinTap and click on View File Returns, select File Now, and then you'll see the price schedule form, and you can enter all the information and click through to complete and submit that. This is just a sample, and again, if you need to click the zoom in to see what it looks like. Once you're in TinTap, the liquor by the drink standard price schedule form that you would fill out electronically looks something like this. This is where you'll fill out the fields, add in lines for your various items, and then submit it that way. For filing liquor by the drink, it's important to note here that it is required to file the tax returns, any associated payments, and submit your forms on TinTap. You will need a TinTap logon for this. Can't stress enough how important it is. If you have any tax accounts, even if you have a third party or accountant that files your taxes, we really impress upon business owners to also have a TinTap logon. So every liquor by the drink taxpayer must maintain monthly inventories and all the records associated with those inventories. And the beginning and ending inventory should be reported on the return. If you're not already aware of how to get there, you can get to TinTap by going to tn.gov/revenue and then clicking on TinTap e-file and pay. You can also, once you get to e-file and pay, if you're brand new and just now starting, that's also where you'll go to register. You would just, once you get over to the TinTap homepage, click on register. So here's an example of what a return looks like in TinTap. Probably looks really tiny to you, but just at a glance here, what the return looks like. A beverage's gross selling price is the total price for which it is sold, including the liquor by the drink tax, applicable sales tax, and also important to note here, any mandatory tips. And a mandatory tip, an example of that is if you've been to a restaurant and see parties of 10 or more charged a certain percentage tip automatically, that's considered a mandatory tip. Those are also should be included in the gross selling price. So let's talk for a minute about inventory deductions. So licensees cannot dispose of alcoholic beverages through any method other than by sale for consumption on the premises, or of course, currently some off premises and to-go orders. It's important that you maintain your records as well for this. Any disposition of alcoholic beverages that is not excused by law will be considered a sale and taxed, and we're going to talk about what is excused by the law here in just a minute. The liquor by the drink tax return does require that licensees report their inventory at the beginning and end of each month. All right, here's where we're going to dive into some inventory deductions. Accidents happen, right? Spillage, theft. You're going to use some alcohol that you may have in your inventory for cooking, but we're going to dive into each one of these items. For theft, important thing to note here is that you must report to authorities and have insurance paid on the claim in order to be able to deduct any of those, any theft. Breakage and acts of nature, someone from the department must view the lost, and the taxpayer must also prove that the bottle was not open prior to breakage. And in that case, in the breakage or acts of nature, you would contact the department first to get us to send someone out to view the loss. Alcohol used for cooking must be stored separately. No portion of the bottle may be sold for consumption. So if you open up a bottle to use for cooking, it stays for that purpose and then cannot be sold in liquor by the drink after that point. Destroyed must be destroyed in the presence of a departmental agent, so an agent from the Tennessee Department of Revenue, due to closure. We'll talk some more about how to close a little bit later in this presentation as well. When to file. So the return is due monthly on the 15th day of the month following the period or previous month, because this is a monthly filing tax, due on the 15th. Licensees with multiple locations must file a separate return for each place of business. And you'll see if you do have multiple locations, multiple restaurants, you'll see each liquor by the drink account listed separately in TINTAP. That price schedule that I already mentioned, it does need to be submitted annually or as needed as prices change or get updated. An example of this, let's say your initial account registration was in the month of June, way back when. That price schedule is due every June. You'll submit it along with that June return. Here also an example, August, liquor by the drink sales are going to be reported by September 15th. See, lots going on over in the chat. Lots of stuff popping up over there. That's good. Okay, we hope we don't get to this point, but here's some information about delinquency. Just like with any taxes, accrual of penalty and interest begins the first day that a return or payment is late. Failure to timely file a return or delinquent payment of the tax for the third time in any 1-year period may result in revoked or suspended liquor by the drink license. Again, like I said, our system does communicate with the ABC. It is a misdemeanor for any licensee to continue in business after revocation or suspension of that license. Each day a business operates without a license is a separate violation. Again, hope it doesn't come to this point, but sole proprietors and individual stakeholders of LLCs and corporations may be held personally liable for tax that they've collected and then not remitted to us. That goes the same with sales tax, liquor by the drink tax, any taxes that that you collect from your customer and then are then liable to remit to us. If that's not done, stakeholders of LLCs and corps, and of course sole proprietors will be held personally reliable. And we'll just go ahead and say right now that that will not apply to any of you, right? That are business owners. We'll not let it get to that point. So how to close. Any person who sells, transfers, or otherwise terminates ownership in a business engaged in the sales of alcoholic beverages for consumption must first off surrender the liquor by the drink license to the ABC. then must notify the Department of Revenue of closure of that location within 15 days and file a final return for alcoholic beverage tax and for sales tax. Important thing to note here at the bottom of this slide, failure to do so with the result that a new owner continues to operate under the seller or transferor's license, that is presumed allowing illegal operation to occur. So can't just sell your restaurant, let someone the buyer to continue operating. You've got to close out your liquor by the drink and sales tax and all other tax accounts as well, and notify the ABC. All right, we're going to share a couple resources here, where to go to get good information. On our website, tn.gov/revenue, under tax resources, once you click on tax resources, you'll click on legal resources, and you'll see a drop down there of all of our different tax manuals that are all fantastic references, go in depth with all the different tax types we've got. We've got a really good alcoholic beverage tax manual. Here you can also see the 10-tap link where you file, pay, register. Help articles, I've referenced those a couple times in this presentation so far. For all of our tax types, I always refer people over to Revenue Help. Great help articles that go in depth. A lot of the same information you can find in those help articles, you'll find in our manuals, you'll find in the tax specific page on our website. But pretty much everything you would need to know is on our website. Of course, I'm going to reiterate again, anything regarding the ABC, the Alcoholic Beverage Commission, you'll go to their website, and I put that again in the put a link to their website over in our chat. They've got a great section of FAQs as well. General liquor by the drink tax info. There, if you click on the taxes tile on our website or the tax drop down along the top bar there, you can get basic information about all of our tax types, including liquor by the drink information there. All right, how to contact us. Obviously, our website, tn.gov/revenue. We've got two email addresses here just for general tax questions. You can send an email to revenue.support@tn.gov. For specific liquor by the drink tax questions, there is an email address you can send directly over to that group that includes Kellen, who's on this webinar with us today, and that's liquor.tax@tn.gov. Oh my gosh, I didn't shut my office door and my cat is jumping up on my desk. Sorry about that. Our call center, our general call center is 615-253-0600. And you can also reach our liquor by the drink tax people directly at 615-253-0680. Any specific account related questions, any tax account questions at all that you have, please reach out to us. We answer those calls and reply to these emails. You can get a person on the phone very quickly, unless it's a big tax return day like April 15th. You can reach a person really fast if you call us. I recommend emailing either revenue.support@tn.gov or liquor.tax@tn.gov. We answer those very quickly as well. Of course, all of this is within office hours, which is 8 to 4:30 Central Time. We are closed on certain federal holidays, but other than that, we are here for you. Reach out to us with any questions. Cannot encourage you to do that enough. We are very customer support driven and want to answer your questions and be proactive and help you be proactive, obviously, so that you understand everything. A lot of this tax account stuff can be confusing, and we offer great resources on our website and through these monthly webinars. But if you just can't find the answer you need, please reach out to us. Quick little note here just to let you know to follow us if you don't already. We do post important notices, law changes, anything important regarding Tennessee taxes on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. So that ends my part of the presentation. I'm going to go back to this slide back here and bring Billy and Kellen in to address some questions that have come in through the chat. And we also got some good questions from you guys when you registered, got several good questions on the registration forms. Hey, Billy.
Hey, Katie, thanks a lot. Nice job. And it's good to see your
Sure.
cat today.
Yes,
How
thank
about
you.
that?
She's
Special
famous
guest
now.
appearance. Special
That's
guest
right.
appearance. There we
That's
go.
right.
So, yeah, you guys have asked some really good questions. Kellen has responded to several in the chat. And Kellen, I'll ask you to come up with us here live, and maybe we'll just talk about a few of these. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Billy? How's everybody
We're-
doing?
Everybody's doing good as far as I know, anyway.
All
So
right.
these folks are awake because they're asking some really good questions. So
Okay.
one thing I thought I would bring up is, first of all, is something Katie brought up in the middle of her presentation that we get a question about all the time, and that is, do I owe sales tax and liquor by the drink tax? Well, I'll answer that one. And the answer, like Katie said, is yes, you do. So if you are a customer and you're sitting at an establishment and having an adult beverage and you look at that receipt, you're probably going to find quite a bit of tax on there as it relates to the beverages. And that is because that is what's in the state statutes. That's what the Tennessee legislature has done, and that's the way that they wish to tax these items under state law. So people like Kellen and Katie and me and other people, we just tell you kind of about how it works there, and you guys as proprietors do an excellent job of reporting. You're trying to be compliant and do all this scheduled reporting and stuff like that too. So Kellen, you mentioned something about the price schedule in chat about how it's mostly informational. Do you want to talk about
Right.
that for just a second, please?
Yeah, yes, sir. So the price schedule is a mostly informational return. It doesn't really determine how much you will pay taxes monthly. I would say honestly, it's more for our audit department to make sure, or not, I don't say make sure, but it's more of them just wanting to kind of just get information on what you guys charge for your drinks. So if they ever have to audit your returns, they can look at those prices and see, are you reporting the taxes that you should be reporting based on your price schedule? So it's not necessarily used to determine your price, your taxes, but could be used for audit if they ever
Mhm.
audit your accounts.
Hey, Kellen, Jay asked in chat about happy hour sales. Do you happen to know how those are accounted for relative to that?
Uh, I don't believe it acts on the price schedule, but on the tax return, it does ask for happy hour. I will say, even if you do like a 2-for-1 sale, the free drink still has to be taxed. You still have to report the 15% tax on
Okay.
the free drink.
Okay. That makes sense. So we have a line entry on the LBD return for the happy hour then. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good, very good, very good. Hey, what about breakage? So somebody brought, hey, guess what? Liquor bottles break. We get that, right?
Right.
Um, the I think the main thing that I've always heard audit talk about in different conversations is being able to prove what you break. And I didn't know if you had any comments on that one either, Kellen.
Um, I would say yes. Just keep a record of what may possibly break or what possibly may get stolen. I don't believe you'll have to report like every single day if you break a bottle. You don't have to call audit and say, "Hey, I need an inspection for that." But if you do have several bottles break, it is important to notify our audit department so that they can come out and do an inspection on what was broken during that month.
Yeah, to me, in these days of technology, I think the first thing I would do is pull out my cell phone and take pictures of it.
Yep.
Yep, just take pictures because you're going to have the date and time, noted there. And then if audit says, hey, you know what? Why don't you just send us some pictures of what happened and tell us the date and time that this happened? And then they can make the decision about whether they want someone to field visit or if they're going to be like, okay, you're good, like that. But otherwise, I think if you don't document and go through that process to receive the credit, then you are ultimately going to end up paying tax on that bottle. Wouldn't that be true?
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
like if
you
you
have the option of paying the tax, but if you can not pay the tax, that would be great, right?
yep, and get your credit and get your money back for it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's right. So wineries with full glass sales of wine. Now, those are subject to tax, right?
Correct, yes, sir. So if you are a winery, you are still required to pay LBD tax if you have, say, like a outside seating where you guys might serve, cheese and cracker, and you serve wine by the glass. You still are required to pay the 15% plus the sales tax on those sales.
Mhm.
But I know in the chat it was asking if you have tastings and wine bottles separate for your sales, you need to keep those separate. I would say yes, you would need to keep those separate because those tasting bottles are not actually bottles for liquor by the drink.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Katie mentioned that in her presentation, and the fact that the tastings in the distilleries and the wineries are pretty much exempt from tax there too. So when you're segregating your inventory, you've got that books and records sort of thing going on for the auditors there, and that'll make things work out great. So that
Yes,
makes
sir.
sense too. So yeah, so LBD is a little bit complicated and it takes a little time too, but Katie mentioned using tin tap and how important that is too. In your dealings with different folks that have contacted y'all's unit, do you think that tin tap is real beneficial? Is there any tricks that you want to share or anything like that? I was just kind of curious about that.
Yeah, so I will say on TinTap, one of the coolest things that I like about TinTap, it does all the calculations for you. If you have your gross sales on your liquor by the drink tax return, if you put that on line 3 and hit enter, it'll do all the math for you. Now, one thing I do want to point out about the LBD tax return, on line 7, it says gross sales for taxable base. That is the system backing out the sales tax that you would have included on your gross sales if you're looking at a drink tax return. And you would take that figure and include that on your sales tax return. And the reason why you're doing that is so that you won't be double taxed because the
Okay.
LBD tax return is just looking for just the 15%.
Right. Right. Exactly. So taking that away effectively makes it the true taxable amount
Exactly.
for
Yes,
which the
sir.
tax is based, I guess is the best way to say that. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Great questions. Great questions in chat and all that kind of stuff too. Kellen, do we get a lot of questions about liquor by the drink, or is it other types of alcohol questions that you seem to get more in your unit?
I would say liquor by the drink is probably maybe about 60% of our conversations with taxpayers. It's our busiest tax. We get calls and emails every day because people are either registering their accounts or they are renewing their liquor license.
Hmm.
So both of those aspects can, have different things that the taxpayer may be trying to do. They might be trying to figure out, how do I get a bond or what does the bond need to say? Or if they're renewing, they might say, hey, I have an issue to renew. What do I need to do to get that cleared up? So it can
Hmm.
vary on why we might get calls from taxpayers.
Yeah, and the one thing I've learned over a number of years of working here too, and just talking to different folks in the department and outside the department too, is that liquor by the drink tax, alcohol taxes, even some of the other taxes like tobacco tax that you deal with too in your unit are all taken very seriously because they involve a lot of money. But also, even with liquor tax, when you look at the Tennessee Alcohol Beverage Commission, their requirements and different laws that our proprietors have to follow in order to get a liquor license, to retain a liquor license, and to make
Mhm.
sure that their bond is right and all this other stuff that we have to do. It's a machine that has a lot of different parts. So
Yep.
Katie mentioned before, how to contact your unit by email directly, or, going in through our regular email support, phone numbers, and things of that nature too. I want to tell everybody on here that's listening that if you're confused about something, to please ask the question about it up front and don't get caught behind that 8 ball. Because if you
Mhm.
start something and you're not really sure what you're doing, you don't kind of get it, just let us help you with it. We're glad to help you. We're here all day long during normal business hours, 8 to 4:30, Monday through Friday Central Time. We can help you, and we want to. That's the key thing. And there's just so many moving parts, like I said earlier, that you just don't want to get caught on that. So that
Exactly.
that would be my advice to folks anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was also advised basically really the same thing. Just stay on top of everything. Do everything early if you can. And if you ever get stuck, we have those emails here, the liquor.tax@tn.gov. And we also have our direct number that you can call. There's usually no wait times. You can get a person within a minutes. We'll help you out.
That's great. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Kellen. Um, and Katie, I was wondering if you had any other comments, anyone else regarding anything that we've seen in chat or any other topic you'd like to talk about.
Sure, yeah. I have a question here. The attendee says, I get the price report from my point of sale system. Is the price list for a specific point in time for the whole year, or what is that period? I'm going to bring up, because I've got it open in my web browser right now, the paper form for the price schedule. I do see here on it, Kellen, let's see, let me get it shared first. Web
Okay.
browser. Um,
Okay, we
can
can
y'all
see that.
see? Okay, let me zoom in here. So uh, here's the price schedule if you don't have a point of sale system. I'll show y'all how to navigate over to our form since I'm over here. Tax resources, then forms, tax specific, and then scrolling down to liquor by the drink. Um, so the price schedule report, there's a report and there's a form in terms of the paper stuff here. On the report, I do see here it says period covered, date to date uh, field right there. So Kellen, do you know for this price schedule, they're putting in a yearly amount there, right? But then as it updates, if they get new beverages in or change their prices, they have to update this form.
Right.
Uh, is that correct?
Yeah. So the price schedule with us is normally the first time they would do it would be the first month that they actually register their liquor by the drink tax account.
And so at that
And then
point, they don't have an average number sold per month. At that point, the last column here that you see,
Mhm.
would they just, well, it says do not include this if it's less than 10. So when they're first starting out, they have less than 10, right? So that's not
Exactly.
applicable at that point. But then
Right.
as they update it periodically, and then it definitely at that yearly update time that you're referring to, the month of their original initial registration, that's when they would have numbers to put in there, right?
Correct. Yes, ma'am. Yep. And it's not necessarily looking for the exact amount. I know some people might, kind of freak out saying, "Oh, I want to make sure it's right because I don't want to get any penalties or somebody come out and shut my business down." It's more just looking for just a good guess of how many drinks you sell that month for that particular drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
yeah, I think that's a good point there too. And it is impossible to have a completely accurate crystal ball on that. So
Exactly.
you just do the best you can, and you provide the information that you're allowed to. And again, using TinTap to your advantage on any of the stuff that you can do electronically, that's the way you want to go, because we realize that paper is okay, but paper goes through many different steps through the U.S. Postal Service, through our internal handling, things of that nature, and it can be the more places that you can mess up, you could be in trouble. So let's not do that. Let's just use TinTap, right?
Exactly. Yes,
All
sir.
right. So what else are you seeing there, Miss Katie? Anything interesting that we need to address real quick as we wrap up?
it wasn't letting me come off mute. I will scroll through some chat questions here in just a minute. I wanted to also, again, I'm going to go back and share my web browser to show everyone the alcohol manual and just get an idea of what's there, because I do see a question here about what about other uh, types of alcohol that have less than the amount of, less than 6%, for example. Just
Mhm.
want to share the resource of the manual for any
Okay. And Katie,
questions
and
here.
Katie, while you're doing that, someone asked Kellen how often bonds have to be renewed. Tell us a little bit about the renewal process.
Yeah, so your bond will be renewed through your insurance company that you get your bond through. The only thing that you would do with us at the Tennessee Department of Revenue is increase it if your bond requirement went up. But you also will have the option, as Katie said, to decrease it if we did say, hey, your bond requirement went to 8,000 from 10,000, or if it stayed the same, you would just keep it the same. But like say if you got your bond through Nationwide, you will renew your bond every year through them. And as long as you keep everything up to date, Nationwide will not let us know that this bond has been canceled. And we will just continue to do bond review on it every year.
And then when a business closes, then they need to make sure that their bond is taken care of as well, right?
Correct. Yes, sir. Yep. So if once the business has closed, is no longer serving liquor, they will let their insurance company know, hey, I'm done. I'm no longer serving liquor.
Hmm.
The insurance company will send us a cancellation notice, and then we'll have the bond canceled in our system. So that way you won't get any notices saying, hey, your bond has went up or went down, and you're no longer serving liquor.
So again, and then I'll say this one more time before I let Katie talk about what she was going to tell you about. When you close your business, folks, it doesn't matter across almost 30 different tax types that we administer at the Department of Revenue, you really do have to let us know that you're ceasing business because we don't know unless you tell us. And in LBD, but it's super important to do that the correct way. So again, if you have questions, let us know and that sort of thing. Katie, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but I wanted to go ahead and make sure we touched on that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, sure. Just to show you where I've navigated here, showed you a screenshot of our homepage on the PowerPoint. But from our homepage here, for basic information and kind of at a glance information about all of our tax types, you can either choose the drop down here, or let's just click on the tile here, taxes, and I'm going to scroll down to liquor by the drink tax. You can see on the left-hand sidebar here information about due date and tax rates, registration and licensing, how to file and pay, the price schedule, the different forms, navigated you to another way to find forms when I was given the presentation, but for all of our taxes, you can find forms specific to those tax types within the page on our tax, the specific tax page. So I'm going to click on publications and other resources here and take you can get to our tax manual from here, or I'm going to take you to another way to get there, which is from our homepage back to the top here. Click on tax resources, and then under legal resources on the left hand side here, you'll see tax manuals towards the bottom. This is where you can access all of our tax manuals that are most have been updated. We have a very recent brand new sales tax manual. Our business tax manual was brand new about a year ago, and these manuals get updated. If you haven't checked those out, highly recommend it. But I'm going to click on alcohol tax here and then just go into the manual. It is, let's see, 75 pages here, but just scrolling, just looking briefly at the table of contents here. You can scroll down and let's see if I can find it quickly. Chapter 6 is liquor by the drink tax. So I'm going to click directly on Chapter 6 here. It will go into more detail. This manual will go into more detail than we have gone into in this presentation, but definitely a great resource here for you to use. Goes into your ABC license, lots of great information there. I'm going to take it back over to the top and just show you over in Revenue Help. On tn.gov/revenue homepage. I'm going to click on Revenue Help here, and then under Taxes, you can go directly to liquor by the drink tax. You'll see here there are 20 articles specifically. These are help articles or kind of FAQs, if you will, about liquor by the drink tax. So great resource there for you as well.
Very good. Thank you, Katie. Thank you very much for going through all that with us there too. So I guess it's about time to wrap up. I think we've addressed most of the questions. So again, if you have other questions, please take those to our email addresses, either one. Probably the liquor.tax address is probably a better one for you to use on the specific issue. But Kellen or someone else in the unit will be glad to help you out on that. Do note the two call center numbers there, the specific one for alcohol taxes at 2530680, area code 615 would be probably a great number to call during normal business hours too. So any final comments from any of our folks? Going once, going twice?
Thank you for joining us, Kellen. It's great to have a subject matter expert
Yes,
on
Kellen,
these
thank
tax
you again.
webinars.
It's awesome. And we appreciate
Problem.
what you do in your office to help us as well. So on behalf of everybody here at Revenue, we thank you for joining us today. And don't forget to complete that survey as you exit. We appreciate your feedback and we hope that you can join us soon for another webinar. Have a great day.
Absolutely.
All right.
I'm gonna real quick before we get out of here, let everybody know that next month's tax webinar, these
Yes.
free monthly tax webinars are always on the last Tuesday of the month. If you're not already aware of that, next month on 9/27, the webinar is going to be on out-of-state companies and Nexus. We'll have a link posted over to be able to register for that webinar later today. And again, you can view a recording of this webinar and all of our past webinars on our website, the same place where you navigated to register for this one, which is go to tn.gov/revenue, click on taxpayer education and then tax webinars. The October webinar might be relevant to a lot of people on this webinar today, and it's going to be Tennessee taxes for the hospitality industry. No doubt there we will probably touch on a little bit more LBD as well during that, but talk about issues and tax issues specific for the hospitality industry, and that's going to be on October 25th. The November tax webinar, getting kind of far ahead here, but just mark your calendars and make sure that you go in and register for any of these that sound good to you. The November webinar, which is going to be on November 29th, is on Tennessee taxes and e-commerce sales. So I'm going to go over and just as we exit here and as you're getting out, I'm going to show you, you can see here the upcoming webinars. I'm on our tax webinars page here. The December one is going to be tobacco taxes. So this is where you will go to register for any webinars and also to view our webinar video library. So just go into the top here, down to taxpayer education, and then tax webinars right there. Call to your attention as well. We'll remind you of this next month during next month's webinar, but we are offering virtual new business workshops again. We used to do these in person and now we have them virtually once a quarter. We had one in April and we had one this past July last month, and we are going to have another one on October 5th. So here's how you register. You went to taxpayer education and then new business workshops, and you can register for the upcoming October 5th one right here. So it's a pretty long webinar. We go over the basics of business tax, sales tax, and F&E and TIN-TAP information on there. We don't dive into some of these miscellaneous taxes like this, but great resources throughout our website for detailed information about all the taxes. So that's it for me. Thank you all so much. And again, like Billy said, I will, you'll get a link as you exit this webinar to fill out just a quick survey. If you'll do us a favor and give us your feedback on that survey, we would be very appreciative. And thank you all for being here with us today.
Have a good day, everyone. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
y'all.